welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Curve. I hope you like today's videos. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get right to it.
What if everything you knew about the origins of civilization was wrong? What if the cradle of civilization wasn't where we've always been taught it was? Imagine for a moment a world where America is the true old world, the birthplace of ancient civilizations lost to time. Such a proposition challenges the very bedrock of our understanding of history. But there is a theory that proposes America as the original Egypt, the first Africa, the true old world. This theory is not without evidence, and the clues, though scattered and elusive, paint a fascinating picture. Firstly, consider the Alabaster Sphinx of Memphis, Tennessee. Discovered in 1911, this artifact bears a striking resemblance to the iconic Sphinx of Giza, thousands of miles away in modern-day Egypt. Could this be a mere coincidence, or is it evidence of a connection between the two lands, lost in the mists of time? Secondly, there's the Grand Canyon, one of the natural wonders of the world. What if it wasn't just a geological marvel, but a silent testament to a civilization long since vanished? Some argue that the canyon holds the secrets of an ancient Egypt, right here in America. Then there's the matter of the Mississippi River. This mighty waterway, some say, is the true Nile of the old world. Its fertile plains and strategic location echo the life-giving role of the Nile in ancient Egypt. Could it be that the Mississippi was the cradle of a civilization just as grand, just as influential as that of the Nile? Utah is Judah, claims the theory. The similarities in the names are undeniable, but is there more to it than that? Could Utah have been a region of cultural and religious significance akin to Judah in the Middle East? Lastly, consider the Gulf of Baja. Some posit that this body of water is the real Red Sea. It's a bold claim, but one that brings a fresh perspective to our understanding of ancient geography. This theory, that America is the true old world, presents evidence that invites more questions than it answers. It's a tale of sphinxes and canyons, rivers and gulfs, all intertwined in a narrative that challenges our understanding of history. It suggests that the story of civilization might have unfolded not from the sands of Egypt or the plains of Mesopotamia, but from the heartlands of America. In conclusion, the theory presents America as the birthplace of ancient civilizations, the original Egypt, the first Africa. It's a theory backed by evidence, albeit unconventional, that demands a second look at our understanding of history. So the next time you gaze upon the Grand Canyon or the Mississippi River, remember, you might just be looking at the cradle of civilization.
We're literally lied to about everything. How hard is it to believe that America was Egypt or is Egypt, and America is also Israel, or, they literally lie about everything, so it doesn't take much to believe these videos. What do you think? Let me know.
Are all the landforms in the Grand Canyon itself, which, by the way, is 90% off limits, even to the Native Americans. 90% of the Grand Canyon you're not allowed to go to, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
But they have names that are absolutely unique to Egypt, and there's no indication that any contemporary cavalryman or anybody that was an explorer brought that concept, because the Native Americans themselves, especially the Pueblo people, they have a long history of the star people, aliens, and they also have a long history of the foreigners who came. So in the Forbidden History revealed for the first time in history, and this is what people have got, but there's been an overriding control of ancient history. Mm-hmm. And just as the great Library of Alexandria was burned, yes, there are other depositories of that ancient knowledge.
So why do you think the Grand Canyon's off limits, 90% of it? Do you think you can really walk to Egypt through there, or Africa, or do you think there's nothing to it at all? I don't know. What do you think?
United States finds ancient Egyptian statues underwater, but this never made the news. Why?
Hey you guys, I just wanted to share a few photos. I recently moved to Arizona and I visited Sedona, and a lot of people have difficulties accepting that Egypt is in the United States. The Grand Canyon, Sedona have relics that are much older and predate that in which we've seen in ancient Kemet. And so I just wanted to show you guys this in the book. I went there on my own. I actually had participated in the tour of these ancient relics, and I've seen them with my own eyes. The next time I go to Sedona, I will definitely do a live video so that people can see this. But as you can see, this is Osiris. This is a monument that was built in Sedona. You can see the rocks are red where the rocks were underneath the water. That means that this place was underneath water. The Great Flood. The rocks are red. When the water oxygenates the sediments, they turn red. Okay? And then you can see in the rocks as well, Isis. This is in ancient Kemet. This is in Sedona. There is no denying what you see right in front of you. I have seen these ancient statues with my own eyes. You can see her curves and everything is right there. But this is just a book that they give us from the tour. This is the Temple of Isis. That is her freaking throne. Listen, you guys, this is in Sedona. And when you go to the Grand Canyon, there are some other gods that have written books that have shown these things. Here is Thoth. Thoth is the bird being. You can see his beak and everything sitting right here. This is the ancient Kemet. This is in Sedona. Ra in Sedona. Thoth in Sedona. Thoth in Sedona. Okay. This is also Horus in Sedona. The rocks are worn. This is Anubis in Sedona. The rocks are worn. Okay. Hathor. This is Hathor here. The rocks are worn, you guys. This is Sedona. This is Ma'at in Sedona. Akhenaten in Sedona, within the rocks. Akhenaten in Sedona, in the rocks. These predate Kemet. The rocks have been underwater and they have experienced wear and tear. Massive amounts of wear and tear. Here's Thoth again. Thoth, the god of wisdom. Right? The bird being, the beak. In Sedona. Okay? And what else do we have here? We have camels, baboons, oh, look at that face. Look at that face right there. In the rocks, in Sedona. You cannot deny this. Okay? The Sphinx. There is a Sphinx in Sedona. You can see this clearly. I'm going to find another angle. Oh, okay, here it is. You can
I truly like all these videos. I think they're very informative and interesting. Keep watching.
Peace to the guys and goddesses, man. How many times I gotta tell y'all what's going on about the land, man? All is revealed. All is revealed because the light revealers is definitely here. But anyway, you see what's going on in this picture right here. So a picture tells 1,000 words. So I ain't got to tell you too much because I didn't explain what it is. You see what I'm saying? Now you understanding that Memphis is the capital dominion of Egypt, which is Memphis, Tennessee. And said Memphis and Egypt, they got it in upper when in actuality it's lower Egypt. You see You know what I'm saying? So you got to pay attention how they flip the maps, one up and one down. They just rearranged everything and switched the route. Like basically took your right hand and put it on your left hand, or you put your wrong shoes on. Basically, that's what it's saying.
Heard about these caves in the western panhandle of Oklahoma, far out west, in which ancient Egyptians and Phoenicians came to this land 1500 BC, 3,500 years ago, and they left their art, their markings in the rock called petroglyphs, claiming the land for their god, Baal. So this is how we began to see these ancient Egyptians came here and claimed the land. They brought that spirit of Baal to our land even before the white man ever came.
It's almost like they made a covenant.
They
with
did. They made, exactly, Sid. That's exactly right. They made a covenant and a blood covenant with Baal, and they claimed this land. And there's a timeline in that cave that wherever the sun hits it at any particular day, it tells the sun worshipers, the Baal worshipers, what worship to do on that day to Baal.
Y'all, we back today with another one, and we'll be talking about how America is ancient Egypt. A lot of people call America Turtle Island because it's the home of the reptiles. This is the land of Kemet, but the original name is Tau Marie. So along the Nile River in Africa, you have cities like Cairo, Karnak, Memphis, Egypt. Now in America, you have Karnak, Egypt, Cairo, Memphis, the same cities in Africa. This is what you call a mirror tribe, people who share the same cultures. A lot of people going to the Middle East looking for the Holy Land. The whole time, it's right here in America. The proof is right in front of our face. It's pyramids everywhere on our land. Even in Las Vegas, they have the hotel paying homage to the Egyptians. It's even carvings on the walls in America of us playing with the snakes. They replicated this same stuff and brought it to the New Egypt. We are the original snake clan from Turtle Island. We are the parents to the Egyptians in Africa. It's even on the money. We had our own kingdom set up over here. The females sat on the throne and they was the rulers. Egypt, Illinois was the capital of the world. Even your god Horus, he was a falcon, and a falcon is only native to America. And then one day, Alexander would come along and conquer the people of America. He would kill the men and take the females and children in as slaves. He would then keep all these people gold and silver for himself. He would then build his own library, hiding all the stolen treasures and merchandise in there. So I told y'all the females ruled ancient America. Alexander the Great made his library a female library, calling it the Great Library of Alexandria instead of Alexander. He would be responsible for the fall of ancient America. But one day, his library would mysteriously burn down. But what really happened, they moved all the stolen treasure to the Vatican. It's a lot of hidden treasures beneath this city. This stuff go back centuries, y'all. Y'all don't even know. But this is how all our history was lost. They stole all of our history and hid it from us, literally, beneath castles. These invaders conquered the people and sat in the queen's seat. But she is back on the rise now. And those that suppressed her are crumbling now at her feet. Peace and ashe. I hope y'all like the lecture.
You ever heard of the Egyptian temple that was unearthed in Tennessee? Right around Knoxville, actually, back in the 30s. They discovered it whenever they were building the Norris Dam. So where is this ancient Egyptian temple in Tennessee? Well, right here, you ask. The approximate location of the Egyptian temple in Tennessee is now underwater, just like I said. Hold on. I mean, it's known as the Cox Mounds and stuff. The story has been embellished and made mysterious, with some internet sources claiming a cover-up of ancient Egyptians in America. And the excavation was halted when the temple was found. Then they flooded it. And the excavation work was carried out by students under the guidance of supervisors. The project identified 23 sites with 29 mounds, including 12 burial mounds and 17 mounds with prehistoric structures. The Cox Mound in Tennessee was excavated in 1934 and found to have been constructed from a series of structures built on top of each other, forming an 8-foot high mound. This mound alone, I mean, it had 49 burials. I mean, it fell, collapsed a couple times, but the original cedar and stuff was still there. Now, this is what I'm unsure of. Allegedly, this is some of the artifacts that they found out there. Keep in mind now, this is in Tennessee. This is Egyptian stuff. They even put it in books and all that stuff. So look, if y'all want more about this, I'm gonna do like a 10 or 15 minute video, probably on my YouTube, or I might just put it on here. So if you want part 2, just ask for part 2, and we'll dive more in depth. You know what I'm saying?
Look what we're saying. These pyramids right here in Nevada. Look at this. It's a cover up. It is a cover up, bro. Look. Bro, look, this pyramids right here in Nevada. I'm telling you, bro, it's a cover-up. This land, bro, our people, bro, they don't want us to know who we is. They don't want us to know where we come from. They don't want us to know our heritage because it connects us to our land rights. You can destroy graves, you can destroy land titles and names, but you cannot erase these pyramids. They stand forever. The question will have to be asked, how did they get here?
How cool is that? Pyramids in Nevada. Actually, there's pyramids all over this country, all over the world, like it was one civilization everywhere. That's kind of cool.
Shout out to Chief Moray for bringing out this map of the original America, the original ancient Holy Land. What do y'all think?
Now, what I'm showing you right now, what you're looking at right now, is a map, the original map, where it shows pretty much states, land masses, pretty much names of territories or lands. You know what I'm saying? So first thing I want to point out, look at the compass. See something a little odd? They got south where north is, north where south is, east where west is, and west where east is. So basically, they flipped our sense of direction. You gotta remember, we weren't slaves. We were prisoners of war. And whoever wins the war writes the story. That's very blatant.
How crazy is that? Even flipping a compass upside down and backwards. I believe it. Some people think that's probably too far of a stretch, but as we know, none of the land is where they say it is, and none of it's the size they say it is. So who's to believe the compass?
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming.
A lot of Egyptians in the New Jersey area. Did you see that?
Head river system on this earth. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else or over in Europe or in Africa or someplace over there, the Western Hemisphere was unknown. They did not know that the continent existed west of the Atlantic Ocean. Therefore, they couldn't search this continent along with the others to find the river of four heads and these other great natural monuments which the Bible said was related to the Garden of Eden. It came my pleasure and my responsibility and my duty to search the North American continent and definitely point out the same bare natural monuments that the Bible relates to.
Callaway points with pride to the official map of the U.S. engineers at Chattahoochee, which shows what Callaway says is the only four-head river system in the world. That is a system described in the Bible, where in Genesis, the river flowing out of Eden, which waters the garden, parts and becomes into four heads. First there is the Gihon, now known as the Flint River, which flows towards the land of Ethiopia. Then the Euphrates, the Spring Creek River, whose name was transferred to the Middle East after the flood. The Hiddekel River is Fish Pond Creek River, which borders the land of ancient Assyria. And finally the last of the four rivers, the wide and lovely Pison, the Chattahoochee, today a river of trade and commerce. The Apalachicola seems an unlikely name for the river flowing through Eden, but here, according to Callaway, is the heart of the garden. This peaceful river is the life source of the lush vegetation of the original habitat of the first man and woman. According to Callaway, the names of these rivers and the land surrounding them were transferred to the other side of the world when, after floating in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, Noah and his family landed on Mount Ararat in Turkey. The legend of the Bountiful Garden, too, was transferred to the Middle East, where archaeologists have searched in vain for a four-head river system, such as described in the Bible.
Well, Mr. Callaway, everyone knows the story about the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Knowledge. Do you know where the Tree of Knowledge existed in this garden, and was it an apple tree?
The word apple or the plural apple is not even mentioned in the book of Genesis. That's been added on by fiction and superstition. The Bible mentions apple or apples 3 times, but they're speaking of the apple of the eye because it's in the shape of some apples, you know. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is a spiritual tree. God told Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden in the 16th verse of the 2nd chapter of Genesis, of every tree of the garden, of the fruit of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. There was not any forbidden fruit in the garden. But he told them in another verse, there's one in here, that if you eat that, you shall die. And that's the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Mother Eve thought a good long time before she made up a decision whether or not to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And she decided that she'd rather live the 70 years that God had promised them by knowing good from evil and then die, rather than live on a parity with a totally insane person or an animal forever in paradise and never know right from wrong.
There is a certain magic here in the heart of these woods, for they are special woods to one man. To him this sanctuary of...
job that you pick for the rest of your life.
The same job for the rest of your life? I didn't know that. What's the difference? So you'll just work us to death?
We'll sure try. Larry, what do you think the meaning of life is?
Work! It's important to be useful. Look at me, I got it all figured out. I get up, I shower, I come to work, I work all day, I go home, I go to sleep. I get up, I shower, I come to work, I work all day, I go home, I go to sleep. I get up, I shower, I come to work.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
I'm the United States. And I'm Israel. With you behind me, I can do whatever I want. Well, I want you. Take me. No, this is wrong. We both have the same father, Satan.
I love how cartoons always try to wake us up, but we watch them and we laugh and we never get what they're saying.
You say that this is the Garden of Eden. There it is. Out there.
I think you're about in the center of the garden, north and south. The Garden of Eden, east and west, is not over 10 miles wide, paralleling the river from Chattahoochee down to Bristol. But you're right in the center of it here at Torrey State Park, north and south, between Chattahoochee and Bristol.
Well, now, according to the Bible, the Garden of Eden must have trees pleasant to the sight, and it must have gold and onyx stone and a river of 4 heads. Is this one of the rivers?
This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, a river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into 4 heads. The tree life from Chattahoochee to Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those 4 river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasseth the land of Havilah, which was North Florida before the flood, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also bdellium there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark out of, and onyx stone, which is marble. And North Georgia, right where this great river has its source, is one of the largest marble areas in the world. The Tate Marble Quarry and Company there at Tate, Georgia, is one of the largest. So the natural monuments definitely mentioned and described in the Bible as being related to the Garden of Eden are here, and they are not anywhere else on this earth.
Well, not only are we sitting in the Garden of Eden, but we're also sitting in an area where you say Noah built the ark.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that you know of?
This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth. I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ararat, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice.
Now there are 4 rivers that are necessary for the Garden of Eden. What are the 4 rivers here?
A river went out of Eden to water the garden, says the 2nd chapter of Genesis, and it parted and became into 4 heads. The Pison, the Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. That is the only 4-head river system on this earth. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was
Educational
else,
purposes. Part 2.
Utah, all right, Moab, in the plains of Moab. Back on the verse, we have him going from the plains of Moab onto the mountain of Nebo. Onto the mountain, so he went from Moab, the plains of Moab, onto the mountain of Nebo. Now, is Mount Nebo in Utah too? Alright, so we're going to type Mount Nebo, and look what comes up right away, Mount Nebo, Utah. All right, we're gonna go to Mount Nebo, Utah from Moab. As you can see here, it's taking us there. Oh, Mount Nebo, it's just right over here. Mount Nebo, look at that. Mount Nebo, look how high that is, right? From the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, right? Some of the pictures here of Mount Nebo. Yes, Mount Nebo is in Utah, all right? And it's actually a lot taller than the fake Mount Nebo in Palestine today, all right? We're going to show that later on today. I'm going to show you guys that, all right? Again, Mount Nebo, all right? It told us that Moses went up from the plains of Moab onto the mountain of Nebo. So real quick, just want to show you on Google Maps, as you guys can see, Moab down here, right? The plains of Moab, right? A plain, and it goes up to a mountain, Nebo. A Mount Nebo, which walking would take 70 hours or 206 miles. So very possible for Moses to go ahead and do that. Of course, he can walk that or horse. You know, that's what they were doing back in those days. All right. So I just wanted to show you guys Mount Nebo, Moab. Already 2 locations are in Utah. All right. Look at the mountain. Look how high that is. And you can see the whole land of Utah from here, especially the surrounding towns and places. Look, Nephi, Goshen. All right, we ain't done. The next verse of the Bible says that he went, again, from the plains of Moab onto the mountain of Nebo, and then from there to the top of Pisgah, another mountain that is over against Jericho. So now we got to look for Pisgah. All right, is there a mountain called Pisgah near in Utah and near Mount Nebo in Moab? Is there? Let's go see. Let's type Mount Pisgah / Utah, and we got it right away. Mount Pisgah, Utah. Check this out. It's right over here. Again, Mount Pisgah in Utah. Mount Pisgah in Utah. Mount Pisgah in Utah. You see that? Again, he went from the plains of Moab onto the mountain of Nebo to the top of Pisgah, all right? And I just want to show you guys here on Google Maps from Mount Nebo down here all the way up here to Mount Pisgah, straight line almost going up. And they're saying, I guess, is a total of around 53 hours, all right? 157 miles. Again, that's walking distance, all right? And yeah, Moses and these people could have been on horse or walking, you know, doing this. That was normal back then. You see how it crosses the Great Lake, all right? And then the Utah Lake, which some say is the Sea of Galilee, that with the Jordan that empties into the Dead Sea or a salt lake, all right? So again, so far, we got all these 3 locations in the same.
Must have trees pleasant to the sight, and it must have gold and onyx stone and a river of 4 heads. Is this one of the rivers?
This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, a river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into 4 heads. The tree life from Chattahoochee to Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those 4 river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasses the land of Havilah, which was North Florida before the flood, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also Bdelem there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark.
The Americas equals New Jerusalem. There are many Egypts or Mitzrayims. There are many Ethiopias. We have the East Indies and the West Indies. America was known as India Supreme. Mexico used to be considered China. But you got to take a look at the maps from before 1600. As it says in the book of Daniel, they changed times and laws, including maps. Jerusalem. When Christopher Columbus left his land, he brought a Hebraic/Aramaic speaking priest with him. That Hebraic Aramaic speaking priest was able to communicate with all the tribes in the land to a certain degree. It's the Paleo-Hebrew/Aramaic that connects everybody in the world together. Because if you can speak Paleo-Hebrew, you can also speak partial Aramaic, as well as the languages that the indigenous tribes had spoken. That's why you have Abba or Bak or Haba, Papa on every continent. Abba means father on every continent. You're going to find that. Over time, the dialects are going to change slightly yet surely. Remember, America being Jerusalem, being the real Holy Land, is one of the greatest Masonic secrets known to man. It's actually of the highest degree of information, one could argue. When you start to look into your sovereignty, your SS number, and your Q sip of water number, you're going to start to notice that they stole your birthright, and then they decided to tax you because they don't want you to know about the private trusts that the modern judicial court system has stolen from the people. This is how they get away with modern day slavery. Another name for King David was Prester John, which means priest John, and he ruled on every continent. And King Solomon's trading routes helps to prove this. It's also why the largest pyramid in the world is in Cholula, Mexico. It's not in Egypt. They whitewashed and they removed all the real facts. And they gave you a watered-down version of history, a whitewashed version of history, because remember, the term race didn't exist until after the 1500s. White and black, it doesn't exist. It's a construct. Whenever you see white in the Bible, it just means bright. So they deceived the entire world, Matthew 24:24. But now we're waking up to the fact that America is Egypt, yet it's also Jerusalem, because Jerusalem equals a group or a multitude of different cities, and Egypt can also equal the same. Same way that Ethiopia equals the dark-skinned peoples. There's more than one Ethiopia, there's more than one Egypt. So anyways, it's also why we ended up making the Vital Health book. A lot of this information that you need is in the BIO, including the world's best salt, organic qualified, trace mineral test included.
Well, that's all the videos I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed them. Many of them, you got to do your own research, but if you read the Bible, it does sound like the Bible's describing America over here as the Holy Land. Many believe that America is Israel, and it was Egypt and all that good stuff. There's a lot of lies, truth in plain sight. That's supposedly how you get to be a 33 Mason, is by knowing the truth that this is the Holy Land. But I don't know. We'll see.